I am sitting at the small oak table in my living room tonight, the one with the uneven leg that my husband fixed with folded cardboard years ago. And before I say anything else, I want you to know this. I cannot remember his face anymore. Not clearly, not the way a wife should after loving one man for over 50 years. But I remember the way he loved me as sharply as if it is happening right now. As if love itself carved its memory deeper than time, deeper than disease, deeper than the quiet cruelty of forgetting. And that is why I am telling this story from my home at 73 years old, with my hands wrapped around a mug that has long gone cold. Because faces fade, but love, real love, leaves fingerprints on the soul that even memory loss cannot erase. And my story did not begin with forgetting, but with remembering. With a girl, I once was growing up in a small Pennsylvania town, where the mills had already begun to die, and everyone knew everyone, where my mother ironed my dresses, and my father came home smelling of oil and tobacco, where I believed love would arrive loudly like in the movies, when in truth it arrived quietly one autumn afternoon in 1970, when I met a boy named Thomas at the public library. A shy man with careful hands and eyes that looked at the world as if it were something fragile and worth protecting. And I remember that first conversation not for his face, but for the way he listened, the way he leaned in, as though my words mattered, as though I mattered, and that became the theme of our life together. Because Thomas loved me not in grand declarations, but in 1,000 small, steady acts that built a marriage the way rivers build canyons, slowly, persistently, over time. And we married young, because that is what people did then. Because love felt solid, and the future felt long. And we built a life in a modest house with creaky floors and stubborn windows. Raised 2 children who grew faster than we were ready for. Argued about money and bedtime rules, and whether the dishwasher should be loaded cups up or down. And through it all, Thomas loved me in ways that now, even as my memory betrays me, my body remembers, like how he always reached for my hand in parking lots, not because I was weak, but because he believed love should be visible. Or how he warmed my side of the bed with his feet before climbing in because I was always cold. Or how he left notes in my purse on ordinary days that said nothing more than "I'm proud of you." And these are the memories that remain intact even as others crumble. Because when the forgetting began, it did not arrive all at once. It arrived like a fog that lifted and fell unpredictably. First stealing small things like names of acquaintances and where I left my keys. Then larger things like the year our daughter married and the details of holidays. Until one morning, I woke up and looked at the man bringing me breakfast and felt only a gentle confusion. Not fear, not dread, just the quiet question of who is this kind stranger in my kitchen. And I wish I could tell you, I handled that moment with grace, but I didn't. I cried and apologized and cried again, because I knew enough then to understand what I was losing. And Thomas, God bless that man, did not correct me harshly or demand recognition. He simply sat beside me and said, "It's okay, sweetheart, I know who you are." And in that sentence was the whole of our marriage, because even when I forgot his face, he never forgot mine, never treated me as a burden or a stranger, never withdrew his tenderness. Instead, he leaned further into it, learning how to love me again in this new, frightening landscape of forgetting. And he learned my cues, the way one learns a new language, noticing when I was overwhelmed by noise, when confusion turned into panic, when I needed reassurance rather than facts. And sometimes I would ask him who he was, and he would answer differently each time, not with his name, but with his role, saying, "I'm the man who makes sure you eat," or "I'm the one who loves you." And somehow those answers always felt right, because even without recognizing his face, my body recognized safety when he was near, recognized home in the sound of his footsteps, recognized love in the way he brushed my hair every night with patient strokes. And as the disease progressed, my world became smaller, while his grew larger, because he carried the weight of memory for both of us, becoming not just my husband but my anchor, my interpreter, my shield against embarrassment and fear. And there were moments of heartbreak I only understand now through the stories my children tell me. Moments when I looked at Thomas with suspicion or asked him to leave my house, and yet he never raised his voice, never took offense, because he knew that the woman speaking in those moments was lost, not cruel, and that love, real love, is not fragile. It does not shatter at the first sign of pain. It bends and adapts and stays. And I do not remember the day Thomas died the way others do. I do not remember hospital rooms or final words, but I remember waking up afterward with an ache so deep it frightened me. A sense of absence so profound that even without knowing why, my heart felt like a room where all the furniture had been removed, and I wandered the house calling for someone whose name I could not find, only to be held by my daughter, as she cried the kind of cry that told me something irreversible had happened. And in the months that followed, even as memories slipped away like sand through open fingers, something extraordinary occurred, because though I could not picture Thomas's face, I felt him everywhere, in the rhythm of the house, in the habits of my day, in the way I still reached for the other side of the bed at night. And the nurses, who came to help me, noticed it too. How I would calm when they played the old songs he loved. How I smiled when they told stories of gentle men. How my whole body softened when someone spoke to me, with the same patience and warmth he once did. Because love leaves echoes, and those echoes linger long after details disappear. And now at 73, sitting alone in this house that still carries his fingerprints on every surface, I understand something I did not when I was young, which is that we spend so much time fearing what we will lose that we forget to honor what can never be taken. Because memory is fragile, but love is not just memory. It is muscle and instinct and imprint. It is the way kindness rewires us at the deepest level. And I may forget faces and dates and names. I may wake some mornings unsure of the year or the weather, but I will never forget the way Thomas loved me. Because that love taught my heart how to beat calmly in a frightening world, taught my spirit what safety feels like, taught me that devotion is not loud or showy, but steady and kind and endlessly patient. And if you are listening to this story from your own home, if you are younger and afraid of aging or illness or loss, I want you to hear this clearly. Love well while you can. Love in ways that do not depend on being remembered perfectly. Love in ways that shape who someone becomes. Because one day faces may fade and words may vanish, but the way you make someone feel will remain, living on quietly inside them. And as I finish telling this story tonight, as the house settles and the shadows grow long, I close my eyes, and though I cannot see my husband's face, I feel his love wrap around me like a familiar blanket. And in that warmth I am not lost, I am not alone, I am home.